Throughout the course of the Eagles' entire offseason, there has been one area of question that has been left open-ended, and that, of course, is the Jalen Hurts situation, and specifically, when will a contract extension be agreed upon, and how much will this contract extension be worth? But even though Hurts will undoubtedly be compensated as one of the highest-paid players in the entire league, and this contract extension will undoubtedly make it harder for the Eagles to re-sign free agents moving into the future, the Eagles should still, despite all this, consider themselves very, very lucky, because if you look around the league, multiple other NFL franchises find themselves in much more difficult positions than the Eagles do, and with all of this considered, the Eagles might actually find themselves in an extremely advantageous position for multiple reasons, and we're going to talk all about that in this video today. But before we do that, make sure you go down and subscribe to the channel for more consistent Philadelphia Eagles content coming throughout the entire offseason. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a like on this video if you do enjoy. And now with all that being said, let's get into the video. As we all know, Jalen Hurts is due for a huge contract extension this NFL offseason, as it's being reported that he will most likely get an extension that pays him around $50 million or more per season, which will make him easily one of the highest paid players in the NFL. And this giant contract for Jalen Hurts is well deserved, as this past season he definitely proved himself to be the Philadelphia Eagles franchise quarterback. He had an MVP caliber year, guiding the Eagles to the best record in football, tied with the Kansas City Chiefs, winning the NFC East, winning the NFC, and going and facing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, where ultimately they ended up losing, but nonetheless still a very successful season from Jalen Hurts, and he proved a lot of the doubters wrong throughout the course of that entire season. So he is definitely worth the money, and he is one of the bright young stars in this league, no doubt. But the unfortunate reality about now Jalen Hurts having to be paid as much money as he's going to get is that it's going to make it a lot harder for the Philadelphia Eagles to pay other players and fill out the rest of the roster with talent. And this looming extension for Jalen Hurts definitely affected how the Eagles approached this offseason compared to last. In 2022, they had a lot more money to work with, and they were much more aggressive. They added a lot of big-name players, and in some cases, they paid big money for those players. But the 2023 offseason was quite different, as they spent what money they could, and they retained some key players, and they did pay certain players a solid amount of money, but they just didn't have quite as much money to work with as they did last offseason, so they went out and they added some under-the-radar players for cheap, and unfortunately, it's just the sad reality that they had to let some of their key players go in free agency. And the Eagles did lose a lot of talent from their 2022 team, there's no questioning that, and I think this led to the perception of some NFL fans that the Philadelphia Eagles are falling apart, or whatever you want to say about it, and I think a lot of people don't think the Eagles are going to be quite as good next season as they were this past year. Now, personally, I don't agree with this, even though I think, obviously, yes, the Eagles did lose some talent, and I don't think they're quite as good on paper as they were last season. All things considered, they're still easily one of the most talented teams in the NFL, and especially in the NFC, if you look around the NFC, what are the most dangerous teams? The Eagles are definitely at the top of that list as of right now, despite them losing some of these players in free agency. And I also think they handled free agency about as well as they possibly could, retaining some of their best players and also going out and adding players for a good value that have high upside. But still, it does suck to see some of these very talented players have to leave the Eagles organization, and there's no doubt that the Eagles had to let some of these players go because they know that they have to pay their quarterback in the future. Now, the huge cap hits that will undoubtedly come from the Jalen Hurts contract extension will most likely not hit until at least the 2024 season, but I still think that this looming extension definitely influenced some of the Eagles' decisions in the offseason, and of course, it's only going to get harder to pay these players as the years progress and Jalen Hurts' contract extension starts to kick in and the Eagles have to deal with some of these huge cap hits as a result of the contract. But however, it's important to note that the Eagles could obviously be in a much worse position. The Eagles could still be a team that is looking for a franchise quarterback right now. Before the season started, we didn't know if Jalen Hurts was going to be that for the Eagles, and obviously this year he had an MVP caliber season and we found that out. So he's proven himself to be the Eagles franchise quarterback, and it's great that the Eagles have now found that, and they have a guy that they're now going to have to pay big money. Now obviously you guys know that, you didn't come on here for me to tell you the obvious things, but it's still worth noting that this is something we 100% should be grateful for when it comes to the Eagles, and they're going to have a franchise quarterback who they trust and they're confident in for years to come. So that obviously puts the Eagles in a pretty solid position. But in regards to worse situations the Eagles could be in, the Eagles could be a team that have found a quarterback that they like and they want to pay, but they're having a difficult time navigating that situation. I mean, just look around the NFL. There's plenty of examples of this in all different forms. For example, the New York Giants and Daniel Jones. We obviously saw how that whole situation played out. Now, sure, the Giants did extend Daniel Jones for 4 more seasons for $160 million, million with $82 million in guaranteed money. But, I think this is a really big risk because, in my opinion, Daniel Jones isn't a guy who's proven to be a consistently elite quarterback in this league yet. In 2022, he put up some solid stats of 3,205 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. But this is not elite production. This is solid production, but this is not top-tier level quarterback production. And for him to get paid $40 million per season for 4 years and $82 million in guaranteed money, in my opinion, that's a pretty big risk. And I think Daniel Jones definitely got overpaid, no disrespect to him, but now he's going to have a hard time and he's going to have to live up to that contract. If you look at another team in the Baltimore Ravens and the situation they're having with Lamar Jackson, that is obviously one of the bigger storylines of the offseason right now. They've been trying to sign Lamar Jackson since last offseason, but obviously they haven't been able to agree on anything, and now they've signed him to the unexclusive franchise tag, which basically what that means is he's allowed to go out and negotiate with other teams and agree to a contract with them, but then the Ravens would have the opportunity to match that offer. So obviously it seems like the Ravens and Lamar Jackson are having a hard time coming to an agreement on how valuable he is and how much he's worth as a player. So now he's going to go and negotiate with other teams and they're going to see whether they want to match the offers he ends up getting. But it seems like, after so much time, the situation might have gotten to a point of no return because now we have Lamar Jackson saying that he requested a trade back on March 2nd from the Baltimore Ravens and basically issuing a goodbye post on social media. This whole situation just does not look good for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, obviously, him requesting a trade does not mean that he won't be back in 2023 because the Ravens still have the opportunity to match whatever offers he ends up getting from other teams. But even if he is back, that's obviously going to cause some tension in the locker room, and they're going to be paying a quarterback that they haven't been able to even get to the AFC Championship game yet with, let alone win a Super Bowl with, while he was on his rookie scale contract. So paying him and then trying to put the pieces around him to go accomplish that goal is going to be that much harder. And Lamar Jackson's also been a guy that's been injured over the past couple seasons, so it's going to be really interesting to see how this whole situation plays out in the coming weeks. But it's definitely a really tough situation. And arguably the reason why Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens couldn't come to terms on a contract extension last offseason was because of Deshaun Watson and the contract he got from the Cleveland Browns after he was traded there last offseason, as he was rewarded with a 5-year, $230 million contract. And the most insane part about that entire thing is that all $230 million are fully guaranteed. And now the Browns are in a really tough spot because they have all this money tied up in Deshaun Watson on top of the compensation that they gave up for him in the trade, which was completely ridiculous, giving up 3 first-round picks plus other picks, those first-round picks coming in 2022, 2023, and 2024. And they gave up all this and paid him all this money despite all the allegations and controversy going on with Deshaun Watson. And on top of that, Deshaun Watson just has not looked like the player that he was in Houston. So the Browns are obviously in a really tough spot as well. And the Denver Broncos are also a team that's in a very similar situation with Russell Wilson, as they gave up a lot in a trade with the Seattle Seahawks to get Russell Wilson, giving up a first in 2023, 2 second-round picks, a 4th-round pick, a 5th-round pick, and some valuable players as well. And it just has not panned out. Russell Wilson definitely has regressed. He just does not look nearly as good as he did in Seattle. And there's also been some questions about leadership and his presence in the locker room, which obviously isn't a good look either. And they have a ton of money and a ton of their future sunk into Russell Wilson right now, as he's on a ridiculous contract that runs through the 2028 NFL season, in which he will be 40 years old, which is worth $298 million. So, considering all these different teams and all the difficult situations we see around the league regarding teams and their quarterbacks, it's safe to say that the Philadelphia Eagles are extremely lucky with what they have and what they have found in Jalen Hurts. They drafted him in the 2nd round. He developed from a player whose skill set was in question, and we didn't really know if he could develop into a franchise quarterback. He's developed to the point where he's now not just a franchise quarterback, he's an elite level player. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. He's an MVP caliber player. He's one of the best leaders in the NFL, and he also is a guy that has the perfect mindset that you want in any NFL player, let alone the leader of your franchise. And it doesn't look like there's any sort of drama with Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles as the contract extension negotiations are going on, and it looks like it's going to happen really soon, as Howie Roseman recently spoke with the media, and he said that extending Jalen Hurts is a big priority for them, and they hope to get it done relatively soon. And it also sounds like, from what I've heard at least, that things are going relatively well in negotiations. And another thing that's nice about this is that the Eagles don't have to worry about Jalen Hurts not living up to this contract extension, assuming he does stay healthy, because Jalen Hurts has already proven that he can develop. He has developed like crazy ever since he entered the NFL in 2020, and that's because of his incredibly hard work and his mindset. And Nick Sirianni spoke with the media, and he basically said that that has not changed. He said that Jalen has been working like a maniac in the weight room this offseason, and he's still hungry, and his mindset, again, has not changed even after going to the Super Bowl. The other thing about Jalen Hurts is that he just wants to win, and I would expect that Jalen Hurts would be the type of guy to take a contract that is also somewhat team-friendly. And no, I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts is going to come out and take less money on a contract extension, because he's earned every penny that's going to be given to him. But what I am saying is that he'll probably structure the contract in a way to where it doesn't hurt the Eagles too bad against the cap in all the years that he's locked under contract, because it'll probably be structured to where most of the money comes from signing bonuses, roster bonuses, that has opportunities for restructures, and it'll probably also be put over a long period of time so the Eagles don't have to go out and re-sign him again and fit the QB market, because obviously the market for quarterbacks has gone up and up and up over the years. The Eagles won't have to match that as it goes up. And I expect that when the Jalen Hurts contract extension does end up happening, it's going to be structured in a similar way to Patrick Mahomes, where he took a 10-year, $503 million contract extension in the summer of 2020, mostly in the form of roster bonuses, and it has allowed the Chiefs to be successful, obviously winning a Super Bowl last season, unfortunately, versus the Eagles, but they've also been able to retain a solid amount of talent, as much as they possibly could have, considering how much money they have wrapped up in their quarterback. And now we just have to wait and see what happens. It has been reported that it is a race between the Eagles, the Bengals, and the Chargers to extend their relative franchise quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, obviously for the Cincinnati Bengals, one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL, has had a lot of success in his career. He's very deserving of a large contract extension. Justin Herbert had probably less success than the other two guys here, but he's also still very deserving of a contract extension. He's proven to be an elite player, one of the more talented guys in the league. And of course, I just went on and on about Jalen Hurts. He is very deserving of a contract extension as well. And now it's just a question of who's going to set the market, who's going to get their guy signed first, and then have the other two teams have to either match the value or increase it. But whatever happens and whoever signs their guy first, I trust that Jalen Hurts' contract extension is not going to kill the team in terms of the cap. I expect that Howie Roseman and Jalen Hurts' team will come to an agreement that will keep Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia long term and also be somewhat team friendly. And it's important to note that having Jalen Hurts, a guy who's one of the best leaders in the NFL, who's got one of the best mindsets I've ever seen from a Philadelphia athlete, a guy just wants to win, he wants to get better, he's an incredibly hard worker. It's important to say that having him in Philadelphia for the long term as our franchise quarterback puts the Eagles in an extremely advantageous position moving forward versus the rest of the league, because they have Jalen Hurts and no one else has Jalen Hurts. And because of this, the Eagles are set up to be contenders for years to come, as I trust no matter what the rest of the roster looks like, the Eagles have a good chance at having success because of the guy that they have under center. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think about a potential Jalen Hurts contract extension? How much is it going to be for? When will it happen? Just let me know all your thoughts. If you did like this video, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more consistent Philadelphia Eagles content coming throughout the entire offseason. If you want to watch another Eagles video, you can go watch this video right here. Thank you all so much for 10,000 subscribers. It really does mean a lot to me. When I first started YouTube, I never could have expected that I would get to 10,000 subscribers, especially as fast as I did. So thank you, every single one of you. You guys are awesome. And now, with that being said, that's pretty much all I got, and I'll see you in the next video.